First question that we have, Tyler, I believe this one is going to be for you. It is, how will I get my fleet to buy in to this during onboarding? The training seems to be pretty in-depth.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think Pat commented on a few items that I would start with. I think it's really important to be transparent and to be really upfront and communicate, over communicate actually, the intention of the program, what the cameras are going to be used for, how you intend to use them. There's a lot of things we can do to assist, or typically do to assist our customers with that messaging. The training aspect, I'll touch on that real quick. There is a lot in terms of capabilities, but we always take an implementation approach that's phased to really try and ease drivers into the program and the amount of information that they have access to. And so we talk about how to do that. There's a number of capabilities that the camera offers, to include in-cab coaching, automated management coaching sessions, and even virtual coaching for the driver. And we typically take a tiered approach in terms of how we introduce those to the drivers, get them comfortable with what the camera's doing, how they interact with it, the chance that they have to improve their scores and see how the system works, and then continue to evolve it based on the overall goals of the company. So that would be my immediate thoughts.
Tyler, I might add to that two suggestions that we've seen with successful deployments, either depending on the culture of your drivers. And again, I'm not pointing a finger or judging one set of drivers or others, but you know who your drivers are. There might be two recommended engagements would, although the program seems very robust, is to either maybe start with celebrating the good moments, right? The driver stars, the improvements, and center the program around that. So you build out engagement or positive reaction. Or maybe be very focused on what your first tier problem statement is, right? So I think, Tyler, I think you just mentioned that there's multiple tiers of deployment. You know, there might be a case where you say, hey, we've deployed it and we want to just focus on one thing: distracted driving, speeding, following distance. You know, and then figure out how that went, and then expand from there. It definitely could be a program that if you try to do too many things, you're not going to do anything right. And if you get too much data that you don't have workflow assigned with, you know, that could also be problematic, because somebody might look at your record and go, you had all this data and you didn't do anything with it. And that's also a little bit of a risk factor. But I do like the walk, jog, run recommendation.
Yeah,
All right, thanks.
I had something on that too, and the word that Tyler ended with was evolve, and that's really what you're doing, is you're evolving. That's the message I was trying to display in the recording, is that you're going to start and it's not going to be good. No one's going to like it at first, and you're going to evolve. The drivers will get used to it. I myself got used to it. You got drivers that are going in the vehicle every day, and they will grow with the program. And then it is to take it in bite-sized pieces. Adam, you showed it on one of your slides that the camera has different features. I mean, when we implemented first, we didn't have the driver facing portion of the camera initiated. It was off. We started outside, and then we continued to have these conversations, and we kept implementing and adding things to it. We didn't have the driver assignments, that drivers weren't assigning themselves quite yet. And now I can see physical names on our map. And even in addition to that, we didn't have the audio coaching that took place either. So the program will evolve just like the drivers will evolve, and then eventually it'll just be what your company does.
All right, and actually that actually rolls into a great question that we got is, my fleet isn't too keen on being recorded. Do you have the option to have both cameras enabled or just one? So I'll go ahead and take that one if anybody wants to amplify, but we do have multiple options, multiple plans that we offer to offer, not only just the external but internal cameras, as we've hinted to here. If there's anything else that you guys need for additional information, your GPS Insight account manager or sales representative, if you guys need questions, we can definitely get you that plan information. All right, next up, we have another question surrounding green zone score. So Adam, I believe this one will be best for you to answer. The green zone score, which events impact the score more? Example, running red lights versus distracted driving, or is there a formula that really equates to that score?
Yeah, so when we looked at the score, we looked at driving segments that had a direct correlation to an accident, and we weighted those heavier. So aggressive speeding has a higher weight than, let's say, hard acceleration, or running a red light has a higher weight than maybe rolling through a stop sign. So there is, the best analogy that I can kind of lay out is, when you take courses in college and you had a 3-credit course and a 1-credit course and a 2-credit course, some of the harder, some of the more, the driving alerts that get closer to direct correlation to an accident certainly have a higher weight than other, I call it best in class or best practices alerts. And the calculation on each one of those elements, so as an example of stop signs, the score, historically safety systems have said, hey, they only look at the number of alerts as an indicator for risk. So they might say every alert is worth 10 points or minus 10 points, or they have an equal value. The score has a unique ability to normalize individual drivers. So I'm going to use Tyler and myself as an example. Tyler's a great driver. I'm an okay driver. Tyler had 100 stop signs, intersections, and he fully stopped at 99. Well, he should get a certain grade based on that stop sign compliance. And I'm looking at, the difference is I'm looking at the total amount of work versus just a one time that he didn't stop at the stop sign. Now me, I had 500 stop signs, and I ran through 100. So my stop sign compliance is 80%. And you would think, even though we had different driving cycles, it does account for that that normalization for each driver's active duty, or the active, the driving activity or operating activity. So two things is we look at every component from a very holistic standpoint, and then we do weight each alert type, and it mimics the FMCSA, CSA unsafe driving factors. So they have similar weightings where a severe speeding carries a much higher weight than maybe moderate speeding. Running through a stop sign carries much more weight than rolling through a stop sign. So it does. You can imagine that the higher risky move have higher correlation and carry more weight.
Awesome. Thanks, Adam. Next question. So for Pat, what helps getting the drivers to enjoy the cameras more?
The first time that one of your drivers has an incident and it absolves them of being responsible to an accident, that you've just won over one driver, and that's how it'll continue.
Okay. And then Tyler, do we have any potential like resources that we can provide to kind of ease this? Is there anything that we can provide that best practices or documentation around that would help with that?
To get drivers on board, or to make
Correct.
it? Yeah. We actually focused a lot, and I mentioned this earlier, on empowering drivers to own their safety story. I want to maybe just elaborate a little bit on what that looks like, or what that means. A lot of companies rely on a coaching system, which requires a ton of time and manual effort to sit down with the driver and have a conversation. Adam mentioned that most of the time those, hey, we need to chat conversations are very negatively perceived. And most of the time coaching is negatively perceived. When it comes to safety, empowering drivers with Driver Eye is done through a virtual coaching tool that actually puts all the information and the data in front of the driver and in their hands. And they can actually do weekly active coaching sessions automated, where they don't have to talk to a manager. They can absolutely look at that information, go through this coaching process, complete it, sign off on it, and their manager can be doing their job and just look at the software and see that driver's doing their weekly coaching and that their score's improving. So the drivers actually have the ability to manage this independently of anyone else sitting down and having to talk with them. And there's a really good message and story about that for drivers and how to empower them. And then the other aspect is just really focusing on positive data. This is one of the only software solutions from a safety perspective that captures, recognizes, scores, and rewards positive driving events. And if you can evangelize and share those throughout the company, you start to create a little bit of a shift in showing reward versus punishment, which is really how you get the most out of your drivers. So it doesn't mean it'll work for every single driver, but if you focus on positive engagement and reward systems, you can definitely impact and shift the culture around safety.
All right. And then something that kind of caters to this is, do you need to have assigned drivers for each of the vehicles in order to have cameras? Our crews often drive all vehicles, so switch seat driving, so we don't have them assigned to a specific vehicle. Tyler, Adam, do one of you guys want to answer this?
Sure. Either way, we have tons of customers that actually have driver assignment challenges and actually need solutions that can do that. There are absolutely some unique capabilities that Driver Eye offers for the right fleets around identifying the driver. We also have hardware and other solutions from like a telematics perspective or mobile app solutions that can do driver assignment for vehicles that get driven by different drivers. I think Pat had even mentioned that originally they didn't even have drivers in the vehicle. So whether it's a one-to-one assignment where a driver is assigned to a vehicle or they change vehicles multiple times during a day or during the week, we can accommodate those scenarios. But Adam, do you want to talk a little bit more about Driver Eye's unique ability to actually manage driver assignments?
Yeah, so there's a couple different ways. Knowing, if you have a direct driver to vehicle assignment, I think you can hard code that. There are a couple different options. I'll go from maybe the most individual way than a generic. So there are some options where we can utilize facial recognition. So Tyler gets in, the system recognizes his face and says, okay, Tyler's a new driver. I get in an hour later, I drive, and it stops Tyler's duty cycle. And then it looks at my face and says, all right, now it's Adam. We have abilities to physically assign each driver a dongle, like a Bluetooth dongle. So think about, the pass that you might use in your office to get through a secure door. The other piece, if the fleet is using the mobile app, each individual driver can go use the mobile app as they log into the mobile app and say, hey, I'm now the driver and I'm going to sign in through my mobile app. So there's a number of different use cases. Some could be much more automated, like facial recognition. Now, I will suggest with facial recognition, check with your operating area. They might have very specific language around biometrics and privacy laws. State of California, Illinois, Iowa, Michigan. Each state has some unique. If you're a non-DOT fleet, it has some biometrics and privacy laws. But if you use a generic thing like a mobile app or the dongle or the ELD integration, all those have less biometric problems. But now it's I think there's options available that we can work with you.
Yeah,
sure.
Our fleet actually went through during the pilot days. We went through all three options to try out and see what worked best for us. So I mean, we started with the fobs, the Bluetooth, and because of our obstacles that we dealt with, we decided to merge towards the app and then the AI technology that kind of will eventually initiate after utilization with the camera and frequency. But in our company, the app seemed to work the best. Everyone had a company phone, so it's probably going to be different for every fleet.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I think that does actually answer one of our other questions that we had, which was how do they see Driver Eye? Is it the app that they can download to their phone? So yes, there is an app. There's multiple ways, right? We do have the portal view or the online web browser view, and then the drivers themselves will have their Driver Eye. All right. Moving to the next question. This is going to be probably a question for Adam. Do these work with electric vehicles?
Yes. Yeah. So we've done a lot of work. We have some commercial, some passenger vehicles that are all EVs. So we have some of our customers have Teslas, And then some of our customers have, commercial grade electric vehicles running around on the road. We have, the big adjustment there is we recalibrated hard acceleration. If you've been in an electric vehicle versus a gas vehicle, the action of acceleration is much different on an electric vehicle. So, that's the big adjustment we've made, is that hard acceleration, maybe we have a different curve that we're looking at for each class of vehicle. But the system itself transcends both electric and gas or nitrogen or all the other options out there. The only accommodation or the little change we make is, we know that in some cases an electric vehicle maybe comes off the line a little faster than a gas vehicle, but all the other driving parameters are fairly similar. And so, there's not a big adjustment between one or the other.
All right, great. Thank you. Moving along, we do have about 5 minutes left for questions. So once again, we'll get as many as we can in, and if more questions do come in that we're unable to answer, we will definitely be answering those ones directly to you guys via email. All right. With this, we'll say, how long are camera recordings available for us to view, and where are the recordings kept? Adam, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, there's two sets of locations where video footage is stored, right? So if there's an alert, where an alert happens in a video and the alert are sent, that information you can log into the portal, and the standard data retention policy. And the data retention policy is really put into place to create a balance between your safety program and how long data is out there that might be subpoenaed, right? So you don't want to have data live on, make it available in perpetuity, because somebody can say, well, Lucas ran through a stop sign and he hit somebody. Please give me every instance where he ran through a stop sign, and he might be a 5-year driver, and now I got to show you 5 years of hazardous driving, which doesn't help your case. So it's not hiding data, but it's giving just a balance of the right amount of window to run your safety program, but not create huge exposure. So if a video is on the portal, it's 90 days plus the current month. So we're in the middle towards the end of September, so it'd be August, July, June, and September, which would be available on the portal. On the device, we actually record, and we have a write over policy on the device, and that stores 100 hours of video footage, and that video footage is not assigned with an alert. So you might have a claim that says your driver came through the neighborhood going 80 miles an hour, and I'm really upset at you because I think you're unsafe and I don't want you coming to my neighborhood anymore. Well, the fleet can go in and say, hey, at that time, that location, I can see, was my vehicle even in the neighborhood, right? Because sometimes people look at a logo and they think it's something else. And two, what was the speed? Can I verify what my driver was doing? Now, in that case, if you're doing 90 miles an hour in a neighborhood, you'll most likely have an alert. But just imagine where somebody wants to say, I want to see where my vehicle was. That is a rolling 100 hours of rolling footage on the device. So there's two locations and two data sets that you can kind of explore. But think about 100 hours on the device for non-event data, and then 90 days plus the current month for event data that's assigned to an alert.
Again, and then one more piece for you, Adam. It looks like the last question that we have so far is going to be, does the app have to be open or running for the driver to get the in-cab audio feedback?
Yeah, I'm gonna pass the baton to Pat on that one to kind of describe the mobile app experience. And so I do believe that you log into the app and you keep it open, but you don't have to, there's no physical touch point. But Pat, maybe you can walk through the the guided, the recommended practice for your drivers with the mobile app.
Yeah, sure. So they're actually piloting a new app right now too, which is kind of nice. I actually prefer the new one, but it's kind of in early stages. But it's pretty simple. It's actually pretty basic. I think it might be capable of even more than what our fleet's using it for, but that would be kind of a next stage for us. But really all you do is you just click assign, you enter your unit number, and it's linked. It's set up to link to my username. So the way we originally designed it is through single sign-on and our company. So then you just download the app, you put your phone number in there, it knows that it's me, and then I just open the app whenever I'm moving from one vehicle to the next. The way it's also designed too is that if I forget, because this is new, if I forget to unassign myself and Adam jumps in the vehicle right after me and he assigns himself, he's going to push me out of the vehicle. So if I slip up and make a mistake, Adam does everything he's right, because it's easier to remember to assign yourself than to unassign yourself, in my opinion. I'm no longer driving the vehicle, and now Adam's driving the vehicle.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Tyler, you might know, but I think it's even designed for future DVIRs and situations like that.
Yeah. So I think what Allison is getting at as well is, does the app actually have to be open for in-cab coaching? And I want to make sure we address that.
No.
So
Yeah,
in-cab coaching is not a mobile app feature. The mobile app is actually for automated coaching. We can talk about the driver assignment aspect. But when it comes to the in-cab alerts and the driver coaching real-time feedback, that's actually happening on the device. And that's using voice-based coaching. And there's an entire configuration set around that to help you determine how consistent, not consistent, but the threshold, I would say, for what you want those alerts to be set at. For example, you could say we want alerts around speeding at 1 mile an hour over a posted speed limit, or 10 miles an hour over a posted speed limit. We want to turn in-cab coaching on for distracted driving, or for rolling through a stop sign, or for close following distance, or we don't. And that's where we work with our customers to implement those in-cab coaching aspects, but they are independent and separate from the mobile app. The mobile app is more the visibility tool, the coaching tool, the driver assignment tool for the drivers.
Thanks, Tyler. We also used, I think there's a little bit of customization that's possible too. So ours, in the beginning, when you first power up the vehicle, it reminds our drivers to get out and perform a circle of safety.
Well, everyone, that wraps it for today. We've reached our time. So if there are any other further questions, once again, please feel free to reach out, contact your GPS Insight representative for any more questions. Thank you.